Hi, I'm Charlie Guarino. Welcome to this video of our recent iChime meeting, which was held at Common PowerUp in Anaheim, California at the Disneyland Hotel. In this meeting, we had so many different experts joining us, sharing technical tips and their insights to the IBMi community as a whole. This really speaks to the strength of our community, that we have so many experts freely sharing their knowledge. It was an absolute amazing experience, and I'm so glad that it happened. I am also very grateful to Common to collaborate with me and collaborate with everybody to help us pull off a wonderful meeting. So thank you everybody at Common as well. If you want to join future iChime meetings, go to ichime.io and you'll get to the registration page for a future meeting and get on our mailing list. If you're not a member of Common already, go to common.org and you'll see all the upcoming events. And there are many, many reasons why you want to become part of the Common community. Check out that website as well, common.org. In the meantime, enjoy the video, enjoy the tips, and I look forward to seeing you again in person down the road. Take care, everybody. Bye now.
So we're going to kick off our meeting with our first guest here in the expo. We have the very talented and an iChime alumni, Ann Wilkerson. Ann Wilkerson works at IBM Rochester. She's one of their developers working on Navigator. And just a couple of questions. So first of all, how's the conference going for you? Have you had any sessions yet?
No, I have not had any sessions, which is very bizarre. Yesterday I had the whole day off except for the expo, and today I basically have the whole day off. I don't have any sessions till 4, so I'm ready to go. You know, the energy is in the expo, and I'm just waiting to unleash that to my audience.
Well, hopefully this is a good kickstart for you then.
Yes, definitely.
Great. So, with the advent now of 7.6, is there anything that one little quick tip perhaps, or one or two tips that you can share that might be new, be it 7.6 or in the TR, for example? You want to share anything with our audience here?
Yeah, so for all of you STAR students who are upgrading to 7.6 and taking advantage of MFA, my tip would be to go to Navigator. We have a whole MFA configuration dashboard, or an MFA hub, as we call it, where all of the relevant system values, all of the relevant user profile information, and the exit program information is all going to be in one place. So of course that all is scattered throughout Navigator on different screens, but if you just want your one-stop shop for everything that you need to do to get MFA set up for the system and for your users, you can go to our MFA configuration page.
I mean, I've seen demos now of MFA. It seems once you get it up and going, it seems very easy to manage.
Oh, yes, very easy to manage. It's definitely, if you want to get it set up for your users, that's a department meeting that could be less than like 10 minutes to get everybody to scan the QR code in Navigator, get that set up with their phone and their Authenticator app, and then turn those users on for MFA. It's really quite simple. It seems like such a complex topic, but it's really quite easy to do in practice.
Easy to navigate, easy to use. There's really no reason at this point why everybody should not be using it.
Exactly. Yeah. Get on your security and make your system more secure than ever.
Any other tips you might want to share with us from any of your sessions? I know MFA is always a big topic, and I know that's creating quite a buzz here.
Uh, the other thing that's kind of hidden in Navigator that we did as part of MFA is under the users page, you now have the ability to disable a handful of users across whatever systems you have on your dashboard. So that's another security thing that you can do as you're hopefully auditing that list of users you have on your system. If you have any profiles that you need to clean up, you can go ahead and disable them really easily through Navigator. Just to get that done. So kind of a MFA thing, mostly a security thing, and a little bit of a hidden feature that's now available with 7.6.
What's been your overall experience working with the Navigator team, as far as maybe with ideas and customers perhaps, and what's been your experience as your personal experience working with IBM even?
Oh, I love the interaction that we have with the community. I think that's really unique in software engineering to actually be here and talk to customers and get their ideas. It's really rewarding to come to conferences and speak with people in the community and find out what they need and then take that home because as much as I love listening to what Tim tells me, it's nice to hear it from our users, and it's way more rewarding to go back home, work on Navigator, work with the team, and bring what the customers want to life. It's really a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's very evident. I mean, I've seen you present several times, and of course, you were a guest on iChime just a few months ago, and you really did an entire hour demonstrating the product, and that was very obvious to everybody who watched it that one day how much your passion for this tool and your commitment to the platform as well.
Hmm.
So I just want to thank you for joining us here today. It's been great. It's always wonderful to see you, and I love chatting with you. And thank you so much for joining today. Thank you, and good luck with your sessions. I know you have your first one in a couple of hours. Best of luck with that too.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Excellent. Thank you. You can see our next guest just hit our booth here.
Yes. Hi, Charlie. How are you doing?
Hello, Patrick. So good to see you. I know we're in two different little windows here, but we're literally 12 inches from each other here. I think you can see my shoulder in Patrick's picture there. But Patrick, you've been on iChime before. What do you think of, I know you've been iChime even at Common PowerUp, but how different is this than let's say a session? I mean, doing a live broadcast. What do you think about that?
It adds a little bit of pressure. There's not a whole lot of preparation and warm up that you can do. But I like it. It's invigorating, and the energy here is just incredible. There's a ton of people here, and there's a lot of people who this is their first time at PowerUp, which is hard to believe, but it's really exciting that there's a whole lot of new energy and new people here at PowerUp interested in IBMi.
It's funny you say that. I noticed that also yesterday at the opening event. They actually asked the question, "Who is a first-time attendee?" And many hands went up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't want to say a surprising number, but a good number. A lot of new attendees, which is, listen, we can always use new blood on the platform, of course.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure it was new blood, but new attendees anyway. I mean,
right. Yeah, and it shows that there's interest in continuing on IBMi. So, the future looks bright.
Last night, the Ocean user group did a very mini little conference within a conference, and we did a panel, and we had 4 people from the Ocean group as the panelists. And the topic there was why it's a great time, or an exciting time, I should say, to be an IBMi. You want to share some of your thoughts from that? And maybe why you think it's still an exciting time, even what you said last night.
Well, they're certainly investing in the platform. There's a huge future for it, and an incredible amount of exciting stuff coming down the pike. I just got done with Jesse and Liam's session on agentic AI, and I was just really struck by how they're currently and have been building the foundation for the future of the platform with things like these SQL services that we have, right? And it's all kind of I'm finally catching on to what they've been doing this whole time with being able to administer things and like do everything with these SQL, IBMi services, and how that fits into the big picture. So there's a plan, there's a future, and it's here. It's really cool.
Yeah, it really is. So you're also presenting here at
Yes.
PowerUp.
Yes.
You want to share a tip with us?
SQL. I did my SQL presentation yesterday. It was well attended. There's lots of power in SQL. So if you're not using SQL quite yet, look into it and look into the SQL services, the IBMi services that are available, because there's a lot of functionality that they're putting into there, and every TR has more and more IBMi services that are coming out. So very, very, very powerful. So use SQL.
That was the takeaway for sure. I thought that was really great. And you're absolutely right. I just did a podcast with Scott Forsey on all the services, and the list went on and on and on. We spoke for almost an hour, and we didn't have time to cover to cover all of them. It's really
Right.
and it's not surprising. I mean, even from an application development perspective, I mean, you're using things. I think you said it yesterday. Things that you wouldn't expect SQL to do, like system management, things like that.
Right. Dealing with user profiles and enabling and disabling and pretty much anything that you want to do on the system, you either already can or will be able to do with SQL.
How has that changed the landscape, you think, and just applications overall?
Well, it makes it a little bit easier for me because I don't remember all of the commands. I don't know where all of that stuff is. And if you don't know what all the services are, there's a service to list all the services. And then in ACS and VS Code, there's also where you can go in and just look at all of the examples and the services. So just literally just pull that open, search for whatever it is you want to do. And there's a really good chance there's an SQL service for that.
And they just keep coming.
Yeah, every TR, more and more. Yep.
Excellent. Patrick, what can I say? It's always a delight to see you and to watch you interact with everybody. It's an amazing thing. You've become quite the mainstay in our community.
Well, it's an honor to be on iChime again. I appreciate it, and thank you for all that you do. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sitting down next to me, you can see him in the picture here, none other than Mr. Alan Seiden from Seiden Group. Alan, welcome to our meeting today. How are you?
Thank you very much, Charlie. I'm well. It's great to be here at the conference and in the iChime
world.
iChime Live, iChime world, the world of iChime, the wonderful world of iChime.
How has it been for you so far? I mean, I know yesterday, Alan, you did not traditional. You did a full day workshop.
Did a full day leadership summit for CIOs, IT directors. It was great. They are no longer alone. It's lonely at the top in a leadership position. They're no longer alone. Now they have colleagues and peers they can talk to. We had some experts come in to advise, to let them know about the IBMi platform, that it's a well-supported platform, how to get the next step of training, how to hire, recruit, and even some AI tips. It was very rewarding and warm and a lot of fun.
Was there one or two takeaways that you can share with us? The two succinct things that were like an aha moment maybe.
What's interesting is I used to hear all the time, we can't hire RPG developers. I can't find RPG programmers. I think companies have realized we have to create them. We don't need to find the person with 30 years experience. We can find a person who is a good developer, a programmer in other languages, and teach them RPGs. I think that's one realization that's been seeping through. I was happy to see that.
And that's no small thing. That's not insignificant.
Yeah, not only that, it's like people, I think to me it was an excuse that RPG is too hard or something, but I think it's not the language. It's really the business expertise and knowing why applications work the way they do and how they work and the reasons for it. It's really the business expertise more than the language, I would say, is the key.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, developers in the traditional sense are developers or programmers.
Yeah, right.
But we do so much more. We're literally, as you say, almost business analysts.
We're really, the traditional RPG programmer was really a business analyst in disguise. And I think that's the thing that really needs replacing. So there's all different ways to hire people. Find somebody in the business who actually knows the business and who's interested, like a power user who likes programming. There's so many ways to do it beyond the traditional. And also find a good recruiter and know the kind of character you want in a person. That's the takeaway that I was asking. I asked Jesse Korzinski too. How do you hire? How do you do it? What do you look for? And his people who work for him were there, and they could answer the question, how did I start? What's it like? How did I learn? Great stuff. Very inspiring to see the next generation stepping up inside IBM.
But it goes beyond a recruiter. I mean, I think it's also incumbent on the developer themselves the developers themselves to really, they had to play an active role in this, networking and, the old tried and true methods still exist today and they still work, quite frankly, and in my opinion.
It's up to the developers. Yeah, that's why it's really about the character of the people and their eagerness to really start and learn. I think Jesse said, go to look at someone's GitHub profile and see what open source projects they've contributed to. And that's proof that they actually are quite capable of doing something, putting themselves out there. It means they're open, they can receive criticism and respond to criticism in a professional manner. Having a GitHub open source repository and contributing to code actually shows a kind of a maturity of character in addition to programming skill. That's what Jesse said. I was kind of impressed by what he said there.
That's an interesting metric. But I think it goes beyond just, sure, that's a great one, but and in absence of that, maybe we can look at their other social media posts, not things like Facebook. That will give you some indication. But I'm talking about professional, like things on LinkedIn, perhaps things that were blogs or and the like.
Yeah, no, it was interesting discussions because it's hard to test people's skills because they can fake things using AI and kind of create fake results and everything. So there's ways to validate their abilities in addition to talking to them, assessing their character. What kind of person is this? I thought it was great, really great day. And I think it opened some eyes in some of the attendees to see what was possible. We don't like to be fanatics about IBMi. We need to see that there's challenges, but definitely challenges that can be met. And it's no different than any other platform. And we have a lot of advantages too. So that was great. People had such a good time talking to each other. They've got new friends that they can talk to in the future.
Any in our last minute here, any one big tip that I've been sharing with everybody, a new tip on 7.6 perhaps, or just any fancy tips that you might want to share?
Yeah, I got a tip. But generally what I do to find a good tip is I go to Scott Forsty's DB2 sessions, what's new in DB2. And I think of something that applies to not only to people in the world of RPG, COBOL, general SQL users, but our open source PHP, Node, and Python as well. And there was a pretty cool one, a cool thing that's kind of new, is a scalar function called IFS path. And it's available in 7.5 and 7.6. 7.5 and 7.6 only, IFS path. And what it does is if you pass in a path on the IFS, it kind of separates the key sections of it. So the initial part of the path, the main part of the file name, the extension, and it means you can search for files with a certain kind of extension. You can search for files that kind of prefix. You can do a where clause. You can look for space consumed by certain types of files. And it's even good for people who use something like PHP or Node, where if you use one of those languages to look for some files, you might not find it because the permissions could be wrong. So this way you can go do it through DB2 and your permissions will be correct. Your object security will be correct. So I thought that was a pretty cool tip. Makes things easier for everybody. And Scott also gave a tip in there that if you happen to be on 7.4, because this IFS path is part of systools, you can actually reverse engineer it by generating the SQL from it and send it over to your 7.4 system. So I thought that was a good one. It's the power of these services, these functions and services that are provided, IBM services. Used to be called SQL services. Now they're called IBM services, parentheses, SQL.
Right.
And there's a lot more. So my ears perk up whenever I start hearing about SQL services because they're universal. You could use them from anywhere, RPG, PHP, any place on the platform. And it's really a very powerful, brilliant thing that IBM did and Scott's team.
It is amazing. I agree. It's definitely a recurring theme, SQL.
Yeah.
Alan, I want to thank you so much for joining me here today. It's been it's always great to see you and great to see you walking around. And yeah, it's been a great experience. And I know I have spoken to a couple people who went to that executive workshop you did yesterday.
Yeah.
And I've been hearing some very positive reviews. So thank you for doing that too.
Yeah, you're welcome, Charlie. It's good to have everybody, developer level and executive level, know what's possible here. Thank you, Charlie, and thank you for doing your iChime.
Sure.
So you're ready for your next?
I am. We're going to usher in our next guest as we make the way here. And thank you again, Alan.
You're welcome, Charlie.
Bye now. We have a new guest here. Pretty cool.
Well, I am delighted to be here. So thank you so much for asking me along, Charlie. Because I'd rather look at you.
Okay.
So this is my first ever PowerUp. Yeah. I'm quite new at this. I've only been doing it 38 years. So it's nice to finally make it across the pond. I go to a lot of sessions around Europe. My own home country, Steve Bradshaw, I'm the technical director of the IUG, the Common UK organization. And so I'm doing 4 sessions a year there and always meeting with my IBMi family, including Charlie. But to actually come over here and see the pomp and the circumstance and the incredible energy that's in this show is real great.
There truly is. The energy level here is off the charts this year. So Steve, we've been in so many places together, but never, as you mentioned yesterday, never in my own home country, which is really fascinating. And I think that really, I mean, it's fun to say, and it's a nice little line, but it really does speak, I think, to the strength of the community.
It's a joy to be over here. I mean, as you say, we've known each other for so many years, and we've been to so many fabulous places around the world where people always make us welcome. IBMi people are like no other community in the world, and I don't know if it's the IBMi that attacks the nice people or the nice people that made IBMi nice. But whatever it is, I'm just grateful for it because it's just amazing. So yeah, it's been lovely for me to come and see and witness this energy and. For the first time ever do an opening as well for the US. I was a little unsure that my British humor would work here, but it's no one has thrown Rotten Tomatoes at me yet.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, yesterday the opening session, which is traditionally done exclusively by the president of Common, they were co-presenters or co-openers, I suppose, Steve Bradshaw and Floyd Del Muro, and there was a good synergy there. I thought they really played off each other very, very well. And again, just the fact that it was your very first time, not only at PowerUp in the US, but here you are on the main stage at the opening session. It was amazing.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a baptism of fire going up there. I didn't get a lot of sleep the night before. I don't mind telling you. But you know, the people were really kind. The audience was there to have a good time, so they didn't take a lot of encouraging.
You know, that's it. So what's been your impression so far? Now that you've been here a couple of days, do you see any? Do you think there are more similarities or more differences between the communities here and abroad?
Okay, there's definitely more similarities than there are differences, and that goes back to that type of person that I was talking about. But the thing that's different is because we're doing it on a larger scale here in the US, I'm seeing that there is more resource available to do things bigger and better. Yeah, you run your sessions here. You just got 4 days worth, and at best we do at Common Europe, we have 3 days worth of sessions. And of course, either side of that, there might be a pre-party if you're getting down there and you meet up with people. But that ability to run longer means that you can do more. You have more expo space and more bodies, so that means that the vendors can justify more money to have sort of cooler things. It doesn't need to be big to be cool, but when you've got more space. I'm looking over Charlie's shoulder right now, and there's a Jenga setup. And I think it's been one of the #1 draws to this event because where else can you stop and play a game of Jenga in the middle of the day? I'm thinking about putting a set in my office. It's super cool.
Every 30 minutes or so, you hear a loud crash, which is pretty good. So, are you doing any sessions here? Are you participating? I know you're doing panels too, as well. In fact, yesterday you did an open panel, which was quite unique. Talk about that open panel, why that's different from a traditional panel.
Absolutely. So I was asked if I could do a couple of sessions that were initially they were going to call uncommon. The idea was to just try and make them a little less formal. They were trying to call it unforced fun. Well, sometimes you even have to force people to have fun. But this particular panel yesterday was designed at the people who were new to Common. Now, there were plenty of people who came in that had been to Common sessions before. Charlie, one of them. And I encouraged that. But the idea behind the session was, well, if you are new, okay, this is pretty overwhelming. 300 speakers, half of it's new, 2.5 buildings, all these acres of land that you could walk around. How do you get the best hints and tips? So I said, right, what I'm going to do is effectively an improv show where I stand on the front of the stage in front of a couple of hundred people, and I get them to tell me what it is that they want to know. And I'll give them some ideas. And if they've got a problem, we'll solve that problem. Whether that's how to engage with the sponsors, whether it's how to work out which sessions to go to, whether it's okay to leave a session when you've started because it's not what you expected. We covered all of these things. And then I found seasoned pros like Charlie here and said, right, Charlie, sorry to put you under the bus, but here's a microphone, zero notice. You tell these people a tip, give them a top Charlie tip on how to get the most out of a conference. And of course, he came through like gangbusters for me, along with the rest of the community here. Because you know what? They're a great bunch of people, guys and gals.
Yeah, and I really adore how our community, even from a speaker's perspective, because that's another little community within a community, I guess. How we all know each other and we're friendly and I know I say it so many too many times perhaps, but it's a wonderful thing to have such great connections.
You're not wrong. And so one of the difference between Charlie and I, so I work on the system side of things rather than development. It means that I do have to work in other communities. And I'm not going to call any of them out, but if you can imagine any IT stack, because I look after many customers, that IT stack exists in it. So my team have to be skilled in supporting those environments. And so I'll get requests to go to other conferences for other skill sets. And when I get the reports back from my team, and I've even gone along to a few of these sessions, thinking, oh, right, it is nothing like IBMi. There isn't this friendliness in the room. Yeah, okay, there'll be free beer. Yeah, there'll be giveaways, but there won't be anyone making relationships. There won't be anyone going up there and literally hugging someone because that person is effectively a family friend to them, and they've known them for decades, and would invite them back to meet their mother. They're just, this family is like nothing else, and no one else does it.
I agree. Steve, first of all, thank you on behalf of Common, I suppose, for making the trip over across the pond, as it were, and and also just thank you from me to you for your participation today. You're no longer an iChime newbie. You're a seasoned pro, and we will have you on down the road for a full length meeting.
I would love that. Thank you so much for giving me the time. To anyone listening, you should be here. Next time, make sure you're a PowerUp. Take care.
There you go. Thank you. The very lovely, adored, and I want to say highly deserving of yesterday's new award, the Al Barsa Award. The Al Barsa Award, Al is the epitome of community involvement, helping anybody who needed a hand, no matter who they were, going out of his way in many ways, in every way. And there's only one winner of this prestigious award every year. And if anybody embodies the spirit of Al Barsa, certainly it's Carol Woodbury. Carol Woodbury, it is a thrill and delight to have you here again. Thank you so much for joining us here at the iChime booth.
Thanks, Charlie. And I have to point out that Charlie was the recipient of said award a few years ago. Also well-deserved. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's an honor.
It is making me well up a little bit because I say it, and I said it in my recent podcast also. Al was a true mentor for me. So I recognize the depth of that award, where it goes, and those, and I look at the list of recipients, and each and every person who received that award truly is deserving.
Yeah, Al was a very special man. I dealt with him. I worked with him while I was still at IBM, and he was a business partner, and he could hold your feet to the fire, but wow, he was a pussycat underneath. I mean, he'd give the shirt off his back. He was, yeah.
As he absolutely has. Sure.
Great for the platform.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's I mean, it's important to reflect every now and then, because we really are, standing on the shoulders of so many people who've come before us.
Absolutely. I mean, the platform would not be the place that it is without him and his passion and holding the IBM's feet to the fire, making sure they implemented certain things, delivered it in such a way. And while he was critical on one hand, he was the biggest flag waver for the platform. So, yeah. So again, it's an honor to have an award in his name.
Excellent.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, let's move to present day. because
Right.
there are so many things happening at at this event, and so many things happening in a timely way. But particularly comes to my mind, of course, is 7.6.
Yes.
That's the big buzz here, in this conference. What's new? What's new? 7.6, 7.5, and the TRs, and you being in the security sector, I know a lot of things have been included in 7.6. You want to share some tips from some of your sessions?
Yeah, I mean, 7.6 is a lot about enabling new features of security, including multi-factor authentication. It's really important for people to understand how important it was for IBM to do this. There's a number of vendor solutions out there, including one from Kisco, but all of those are partial solutions until 7.6. IBM is the only one that has access to the architecture in every place where authentication happens. And so there was zero chance that a vendor could provide a complete solution. But the cool thing is that IBM has made it very configurable. So you can have some users enabled for MFA, but you can even still use those vendor solutions, whichever one you choose to use. So I think they did a really great job implementing MFA. But that's not the only thing they've done. They've also kept going on the path of secure by design. So that really started, well, several releases ago, but 7.5 started a lot of those changes, and 7.6 has continued them. So you'll get the full flavor if you read the memo to users, which is very important to do. But one of the emphasis this year was on who can change network attributes. So like your TCP/IP configuration. So IBM has really reworked what things like change telnet A or start TCP server, what all of those commands require, and it requires iosysconfig. But then they also provided a way to allow people to just display those attributes without having all that power. So they're trying to go more secure by design and make it yet configurable enough so that people don't have to have too much power. So they've kind of split out the change from the display. So they've done a good job.
They truly have. It's
Yeah.
and the rollout's been excellent, and of course it's already GA, so we're good to go.
Yes, we are good to go. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Carol, what else can I say? We've these are just short little tips, and I appreciate your time as always. And it's
My
always
pleasure.
nice to see you and in person once again, and always a treat
Same.
for us. Thank you for joining
Thanks
us,
for having
Carol.
me.
Absolutely.
care.
Thank you.
Hey, Charlie.
Hi, Sanjula. You might be, so first of all, Sanjula, I don't want to mispronounce your last name. Why don't you say it for us?
It's Ganapola.
Ganapola. So it's exactly the way it's spelled. Okay, good. So Sanjula is one of IBM's developers in Toronto Labs.
Yep.
And you want to share some of the what are your topics? What are you speaking on here today? And maybe give us a tip or two from some of your sessions.
So yeah, I'm a software developer based out in the Toronto lab, primarily working in the space of IBMi application development tools. So heavy investment into the VS Code tooling. So I actively work with Liam and the entire team in the entire VS Code stack pretty much. And so in this conference, I'm going to be talking a lot about some of the stuff that we have coming out, and also a lot of things with Git. Git's going to be a big focus, trying to do local development, push people towards modern tools. So lots of exciting stuff.
What's been your experience as far as, I mean, it's very obvious, but what's been your experience with the reception of code for I? What are you hearing out in the field when you speak to developers?
Yeah, so I think, and I'm sure many of us have seen the Fortra 2025 survey. VS Code definitely is, almost as popular as IDI and other sorts of tools. So it's definitely up there in terms of popularity. What we kind of see when we go to these conferences is that, a lot of people are still, fairly new, but still trying to, leverage the tools. Lots of stuff going on in this conference, especially looking at Watson Code Assistant for IBMi. So another reason to get into the VS Code space. So, people are definitely interested. I highly suggest everyone to sort of just give it a try to see, what they think. And the cool thing is that all of it is open source. So, anytime you have feature requests or bugs that you might find, you can just go ahead and open issues. We can take a look. It's sort of like a community effort, and it's cool because a lot of us have been working around the world on this, so it's nice to meet up here in person.
Yeah, literally. I mean, from so many different corners of the globe, this thing, all with a single focus, and then improving this product, and it shows. It shows on the breadth and the depth of the features that keep coming out for this thing. It's amazing.
Yeah, so one of the things I actually wanted to talk about, if you don't mind, was a brand new testing extension that we've been probably going to be releasing actually right after this event. So just a couple days after this event, we'll be releasing a brand new VS Code extension that's focused on RPG and COBOL unit testing in VS Code. So it's going to have the ability to not only compile and execute tests, but also simplify the entire process, which is going to include actually writing tests. So it's going to actually help you actually generate test stubs so that your developers can, and especially new developers who might be new to RPG code, they can generate these test stubs, go in and fill in the inputs, go and fill in the expected outputs, and sort of be able to generate an entire test bucket that then you can be able to integrate into sort of a CI/CD pipeline that is probably what's more common in all sorts of other programming languages. The interesting thing is I gave a session on it yesterday where we found that not many people are doing unit testing in RPG, which is interesting, but we're hoping to get more people doing unit testing. So we're hoping that this tooling will help with that. So definitely check out the IBMi testing extension.
The easier it is to do these things, the more likely it is to be adopted by many developers.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you talk. Sorry.
Yeah, no, one of the other interesting things I heard just when I was talking to one of the developers yesterday, she was saying that some people she knows typically when they compile a program, as long as it compiles, they just assume that it works.
Oh, no.
Funny thing, right? Because that wouldn't work in any other programming language. No one would just assume that your code works just because it compiles. So hopefully people can start using the unit testing, hopefully the test case generation, unit testing, and all of that's not even using AI right now. I mean, there's definitely room for stuff there, but we're going to continue exploring that.
And when this new extension becomes totally available, you download it through traditional means, through the marketplace, I guess?
Yeah, so it's all going to be free and open source. It's going to be directly installable via the VS Code marketplace. So you can just look up IBMi testing in about a week or so directly in VS Code, and then you'll be able to just install it. And it actually fits in really well. We have this nice diagram, and we'll probably update the documentation directly in the Code for IBMi documentation. So you'll be able to go there and see exactly how it fits in with everything else. And so it fits really nicely into, and it's going to support both local tests if you have developing out of local files, but also source members. We know a lot of people are still, using source members, even though we're trying to push for local development. We still want to support those who are using source members. So unit testing will work there as well.
That's amazing. I hope that compile and put into production was just a joke. It wasn't serious. I hope that they weren't serious about that. But, but listen, testing is very often an not underused, but underdone task in app dev.
I know for sure. Yeah, unit testing, I think in general is not done much from what I've heard. I'm still fairly new to RPG, but from what I've heard, not many people are doing unit testing. And so the goal is, be able to simplify from the developer side, how to generate unit tests, write them, compile them, execute them. But then also, again, like I said, integrate that into a CI/CD pipeline. We're going to be looking at that heavily as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Sanjula, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We have your name on our list of doing a full show at some point down the road for iChime. It would be great to have you.
Thanks so much, Charlie. Thanks for the invitation.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much, Sanjula. Sanjula, everybody. Tim Rowe. Always a pleasure to see you, my friend. How are you?
I am doing great. It's good to see you as well.
Thanks.
Doing as well as can be. It's been a great conference so far. Busy, but that's kind of the joys of conferences.
Right. I know what's on your list of sessions is all the newest things in 7.6, and there's a ton of them.
A lot of 7.6 stuff. Yeah, that's a big piece of what we're doing now. For sure, we've got new content that came out in 7.6, but a lot of the stuff that I own release is nice, but it's not what drives my development. So in Navigator, for instance, there's a whole bunch of things that we added that have nothing to do with 7.6 that can help everybody today, right where they're at.
Yeah, we had Ann here earlier, and in fact, she was our very first guest, and she spoke about some of the things. Like she did talk about MFA within Navigator, which was really cool.
Okay, so to take it one step in a slightly different direction with Navigator, one of the huge things that we added some wizards to help you configure your system for TLS.
That's very cool.
I mean, more and more of our companies, they need to be all their connections TLS enabled. They want to not have any non-TLS enabled ports even open. They want to close them all. So we created some wizards in Navigator that will allow you to, in one action, configure all of the host servers for TLS. Configure DRDA, DDM, Telnet, all of these different servers, one action, give it one certificate, it's all done.
And so if you were doing that old school, you're not doing that in one fell swoop.
So if you're doing it old school, you're going to go into IBM Docs, and there's a lovely 5 or 6 page document in there, and you will then need to walk through and do that action 9 or 10 different times.
How many times?
Well, it depends on how many servers you want to do. There's 8 host servers. There's Telnet. There's DRDA, DRDM. You start going through the list. I'm off of 2 hands now. I'm up to 12 or 11. I can't count. It's too many. I have to take my shoes off, and nobody wants that.
Times number of servers.
Yeah, exactly. So now we can do this in one action.
So now, interestingly, how did something like that come about? Is that a customer request? I know IBM is very receptive to hearing what customers have to say and how to improve the experience.
I kind of like to think of it as simple math. See problem, fix problem. With MFA, MFA is dependent upon TLS. Right. So as we move to MFA support, our customers are going to need to be TLS enabled. So we've had some wizards in the past for doing like the admin servers, maybe the Apache server, but again, that's one little piece of this larger puzzle. So I'm looking at this going, well, if we need to be TLS enabled, then dadgummit, we need to help our customers get the TLS enablement complete. So voila, see problem, fix problem. That's kind of what we try to do that. Of course, we appreciate requests coming in from customers too, but sometimes we actually have original thought.
That's really funny.
Fan,
I would think that's more than just occasionally, but yeah. But you're in the app dev space. Holy cow. There's a million things happening at the same time here simultaneously. So what other things have you been, you're sharing so many new ideas, but what is opening people's eyes like, wow, this is a great thing. You're hearing oohs and ahs.
Did you have Edmund come over here at all, talk about
No, had not.
Okay. So Watson X Code Assistant for I, new product that was just announced at Think last week, I think it was. So it's brand new announced. We're in private preview right now. We'll be moving to public preview, but it's an amazing tool that's added to VS Code to help our RPG programmers understand RPG, or help our programmers who don't know anything about these procedures, these methods. So you can highlight a section of code, and I can then explain it.
It's really cool. I've actually seen it in action where they just highlighted either a block of code or the entire program as they explain it.
And now we can also write documentation, because I know all of our developers love writing documentation.
And I did notice also that there are different ways to this. Is a business level or a higher level of explanation?
Summarization. So here's a block of code. What's the summary view? And then you get the detailed and the usage view, where I can say, excuse me, this is all the detail. This is all the input parameters. This is the output parameters. How do I call it? What's happening in each of these individual sections within the procedure? So just depends on what you need.
I've seen it in action, and I got to tell you, I mean, what I've seen the demos, and I watched one of the sessions on it. It looks really amazing. It looks, and right now you're in some kind of preview. You're still looking for people to participate in that.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, we're still trying to make certain that we can reliably explain RPG code. I mean, that's the big thing. Now, a request out to our users, right? We still need more fixed form RPG because we want it to be just as reliable with internal or fixed form as we are with free form. We're doing really good with free form right now. Lots of great information, lots of good, reliable explain going on there. But in order to create a reliable model, you need input, you need data. So if anybody's got, all sorts of really ugly fixed form that they would like to help participate us with, send a note to me, send a note to Steve Will. We'll connect with you and see if we can, make this better for our community.
And I just want to add one thing to what you just said. You could use the word ugly, but it's not just ugly that it's hard to look at, but it's hard to maintain. And at the end of the day, that's why you can't scale efficiently with old, ugly code.
Correct.
So, Tim Rowe, what can I say? I want to thank you so much for joining me here today.
It's a real pleasure, as always, Charlie. I was so excited when I got the invite. So thank you much. It's always good to see you. Always good to be part of your iChime community.
And this, my friend, is for you.
Oh, lovely. Just what one needed.
Just what one needs. There you go.
Charlie, pleasure.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Great. Thank you. Carmelita, am I saying it correctly? Is it Ruvalcaba? Ruvalcaba?
Yeah, Ruvalcaba.
Ruvalcaba. We are thrilled to have Carmelita here. Anybody in the IBM community knows Carmelita. She works behind the scenes so often, but she's such a strong pedestal in our community.
Thank you. Those are really nice words, Charlie.
It's completely true. You want to tell us what you do? I know you're in the marketing end of IBMi, or do I have that correct? I want to make sure I'm saying it correctly. Give you the proper title.
I'm mostly in the side of the community with IBMi. So what we're trying to do is actually promote everything we have, all the developers, all the architects, and all the materials we have that you can actually take benefit of. So one of the things that I've been doing now for almost 2 years is the guided tours. This is an activity I host it's not as big as the iChime podcast. Nothing can be like that. But we're trying to get there. So the idea is every Wednesday we have a live event. It is on Teams. That's where it's hosted. And I invite it could be an architect, it could be our CTO, it could be somebody related to IBMi community, mostly from IBM, and we talked about. So it's a guided tour. So let's say we want to have Tim, who was just talking here, and he will talk about Navigator. So he'll do a little bit. For instance, last week he did how you could set up MFA with Navigator, and he did a walkthrough. It was a demo, and all the participants are invited to actually post their Q&As in that moment. So while the presenter is talking about it, they can actually answer the questions that people might have. So that's like the value of it, of joining these calls. And you can actually just sort of if you have questions related to a topic that we're going to cover, you just go ahead, join, and you'll have the expert there and just post your question and we'll cover it. So I have that agenda going out. It's like 3 months in advance. So you can always just watch it. And the cool part is, if for some reason you did not get to see that event at that time, we always post the recording and the deck. In our Common has a space where it's called Guided Tours, and we have it for the years. It's 2024 and 2025 also covered there. So you can always catch the replay.
What kind of topics have you covered in the past?
Anything related to IBMi. So it could be technical, it could be the roadmap. For instance, next, I think it's like in 3 weeks, Steve will talk about the WCA, the Watson Code Assistant for I that we have, and everything that's been going out. We also did when Migrate While Active came out, we did one guided tour about that. So it's the way to do just live events and whatever it's IBM is launching with IBMi or our basic tools that we've been working. Scott has always been there. We do a lot of DB2 guided tours as well, different approaches. So, yep.
And people are getting great value out of these.
Yes, they do actually. And I think it's a good learning path. If you have questions, they're actually the topics that are coming out. So we're not talking about technology that came out 40 years ago. We're talking about, for instance, we just launched 7.6. We had a guided tour on 7.6. All the architects were there and they talked about what was new. And then we had a specific guided tour on NFA where Tim Allenbach, who is our security EBA, talked about everything related to MFA and what was coming up. So that was a specific guided tour for that one.
Actually, Tim was last month's full-time iChime host, guest, I should say. I mean, he did a live demo for us. It was great.
Yeah. So we're always talking of what's new and what people want to know about. And that's the way we actually get to do that link with everybody else.
So it's really cool. So these guided tours, I mean, they're free. They're well worth your time.
Yes, they are free. And as I said, if you, for some reason, are not in my list of distribution, I always post the guided tour that is coming this week or next week on my LinkedIn, so you can follow me there. Then also, I have a webpage where we have all the agendas, all the links to all the agendas there. And if for some reason, as I mentioned, you missed it, and you're part of Common or you just saw it and you want to see the replay, you can just access the library content from Common. Those they have it under courses, so they're free. But yeah, you can always access the material. All the material is free to everybody.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason why, if someone's interested in a particular topic, they can't find information. There's information to be had out there for sure.
I agree. And I think that also the idea of these is to be a guided. So if you have questions, if you have curiosity or something that came up, you can always cover it.
Current, relevant information.
Correct.
Perfect.
You couldn't say it better. You just got those ideas out of my mind. So I'm leaving on that good note.
Okay, great. Carmelita, I'm so glad you had a chance to come and join us here today. And thank you for all you do for the community. As I said, I meant what I said. You really are a mainstay, and maybe insofar even maybe an unspoken hero.
Thank you, Charlie. You always make us and help us look good.
Thank you, Carmelita. How great is it to have the great Jesse Gorzinski joining us here today? Welcome, Jesse.
You flatter me. Welcome, Charlie. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Jesse. It's always a delight. We just finished a short while ago. We co-presented a session this morning, didn't we?
We did. We talked about ethics and AI together. That was fantastic.
Ethics in AI. That's actually an important component of AI. I know your itinerary here is all AI. I know that you're. I apologize. What is your exact title with IBMi as it relates to AI?
Sure. So my exact title is Business Architect of AI with IBMi. So kind of help to set the technical roadmap, make sure that we're delivering values to our clients, make sure that people that want to build cool things with AI and IBMi have all the technologies they need to do so. And of course, doing things like this where I get to talk to people, advocate for the use of AI, and just talk about all kinds of cool new cutting edge technologies as a whole.
You know, we just had Tim here speaking about the new Watson RPG assistant and the code assistant, and he did tell us a little bit about. But you know, IBMi is more than just that one product. You know, you can it integrates well and it plays well in that space. I know you had another session AI on IBMi. What are some of the things that you typically share with everybody in that space?
Yeah, so there's actually a lot of topics that fall under the AI umbrella now. So AI is a very multi-piece story. I always break it down into a few major components, right? There's AI for operations. We have the IBM AI Ops product is being talked about here this week at the conference. There's other ways that you can drive automation and insights with respect to system operations with AI. We just released some new tech preview of some new open source plumbing that can help with some of that as well. There's the whole code assistance piece. But obviously, the big piece that a lot of companies are still looking for is the classic what I call the AI for data science play, which is being able to leverage the many years of ground truth data that's in the database today in the enterprise's realm. Data that these companies own to get new insights, to do better predictions, to do better strategic decision making, perchance, but to be able to leverage all of the data that's on this wonderful database, on this wonderful system, to pair that with AI and get some new business value out of it. That's really the big play that we've been seeing clients go through right now.
One of the challenges, I guess, that at least that I hear from people walking around, even at the event here, is I hear we want to do AI because it's obviously it's a huge buzz. We want to do AI, but they don't even know how to get started. And quite frankly, not even get started, but they don't even know exactly what they want. They want to just do AI.
Yeah.
So in any form, any capacity, what does that mean? How do you typically guide them? What's your response when you hear that question?
Yeah. So love it. That you're spot on. There's all kinds of initiatives that we run into where whether it's C-levels or developers or anyone in between is saying, hey, we want to do AI. You're 100% spot on. But that itself is there's so many different capabilities within the umbrella of AI now. It's hard to say what they need, right? But earlier in a session today, one of the points I brought up is I always say, go to your employees, go to your users of your applications and ask them two questions. Question number one is, what task do you do that you find the most tedious, right? The tedious, brainless, repetitive tasks. That's a really great candidate for adding some kind of AI-based automation. Question number two is, and you often will get the same response, what tasks do you do in your day-to-day job that you absolutely hate doing, that you would absolutely love for AI to help you with or to do for you, right? And that helps. That's those two questions. If you ask just all, the employees in your organization, that's going to give you some ideas at minimum, and in best case, some starting points, possibly some low-hanging fruit, easy projects that you can take on to help people's the employee happiness or productivity get better over time, and that's how you can start identifying some of those projects. Is just talk to your users and see what they need and what their pain points are.
And certainly, I would think if you're going to automate a process that's so tedious and despised, you're going to get much higher buy-in.
Yeah, exactly. Because people will just enjoy doing their job more, right? There's so many industries where there's so many people, there's paperwork involved with multiple steps of a process, and people hate doing the same paperwork day in and day out. Or there's people who are answering the phones for a call center for an insurance company or an auto repair shop or whatever, and they are getting 90% of the inquiries are the same 5 questions over and over, right? I'm happening booth here at PowerUp. We have some really awesome visitors stopping by as well. But yeah, we have again, almost any job has those tedious, repetitive things that people just don't like doing, right? It's like, yep, I got to do another one of these, another 20 minutes of, again, it's usually process, paperwork, approvals of some form, coming up with estimates. Depending on what your industry is. But it's especially, even if you don't know those exist in your company, if you start asking your users where those exist, you will find that there's going to be those things all over the place.
Absolutely agree. Well, Jesse, I want to thank you for your time here today. We're doing this one little quick tips and things like that. Thank you so much. You gave us some very good insight in that short amount of time. So it's always great to see you here, and thank you for all you do for our community. It's amazing.
You bet. Charlie, thanks for making this happen, and thanks for all the folks tuned in. I'm going to relinquish the headset to the next person in line. And
it's a long queue.
There is a queue here. A lot of awesome people for you to talk to. So excellent. Thanks, everybody. And Charlie, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jesse.
Have a good day.
See you soon. So, Marcus Litters.
Yes. Hello.
Marcus, from where do you hearken from? Where you come from? Where are you coming from?
I come from Germany, and I'm a IBM guy, IBM AS400 and IBMi guy since 1990. So I started 35 years ago, and I was 19 years old in those days. So now you can calculate how old I am. And yeah, I started with RPG2 and OCL programs, and I'm still doing that stuff. So that's really great. And yeah, it's not great, but it is like it is. And yeah, I think you asked me to tell everybody about some tips I can give.
Yeah.
Maybe like that.
Because I see your name all the time on LinkedIn, and I see you making these great posts on LinkedIn and social media, and you're giving sessions here now, right?
Yes.
At PowerUp.
The first time. I'm
First
very
time
happy
at
about that.
PowerUp. What kind of tips do you want to share with us from some of your sessions? Maybe one or two tips that people might find interesting.
Yeah, one tip I really like to share is what we are doing is a step-by-step modernization. So most companies we know, and it's all over the world, I realize they have old and very old programs, applications, maybe 50 years old. The oldest application we have is 51 years old and still running, still working, and it's still driving the business. And that's very important. And most people forget that. Yeah, those old applications are running the business, and so it is not a good idea to simply delete them or remove them, because you need to be aware that they are running the business, and if you go too fast, you can crash the business. That's what's happening a lot of times. So my tip for you is do a step-by-step approach.
After him.
When you are modernizing or try to modernizing something, and one way you can do it, and that's one way we do, and it's really good. It's working. It's a working way is using we call it virtual terminal services. So it's a technology that can remote control your 50 to 50 applications. So what we are doing is we create a web service from within a dialog program, a display file program. You can do it within a few minutes, yeah, because you do it in RPG. You can also do it, if you like to, in JavaScript or in Python or whatever, all languages that can handle JSON. And we do it, for example, with a great open source framework, NoxDB from Niels Lisberg. And we use it for making RPG microservices, we call that. So we call from the front end, we call with an HTTP request and JSON, we call that RPG microservice. That RPG microservice is getting all the JSON information, and then it starts some virtual terminal services, and that logs into a virtual 50 to 50 screen and is doing the stuff normally the users did in the past. So with this technology, you can create very fast APIs for your dialog, for your display file programs. And for example, we have that a lot of times that there are some calculations, they are done in the old programs and nobody knows how. And removing those things is very hard and can take a lot of time. And for example, we had a customer that said, oh, we need to get that information very quickly because in 2 weeks we will have a new iPhone app for our customers. And we need that information, and we cannot extract that information so fast. So with this technology, you can do it within a few minutes. And the other advantage is it is really secure because you still use the old application. Yeah. So it's the first step. We create a new front end. We create some APIs. So we create normally an optimized new front end, calling those web services. And those web services are using the old stuff. That's the first step. Later on, you can go on and say, now we're modernizing the old stuff in the background. So you give it the same interface than before, and your new front end, it doesn't even realize that there is another backend right now. So you can even transfer those backends to other technologies, to other languages. If you want to use Python or Node.js or whatever, Rust or whatever, on each platform you want, because it's a web service, it doesn't matter. The front end will work. So this is a very nice tip I can give you, or hint, or whatever.
And what you're describing is that people are preserving their investment in their applications.
Yes.
That's the best part. They don't have to go to a new platform and start from the beginning. They're starting with what all the money that they've invested, and they're preserving that.
That's it. Yeah, and for many people and many companies, that's enough. Yeah, so they say we leave the backend because it's working for more than 50 years. And now they have an optimized user interface on top of it. So the users are happy. The owners of the company are happy. They earn their money. The company's working. And it's a very good way of doing it. Yeah. No
Perfect.
Problem. No problem.
Marcus, I want to thank you for joining. You're your first iChime.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to thank you for that invitation.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you.
Wish you a nice day, everybody. Yeah.
So I am thrilled to have as our next guest Dr. Sebastian Lehring. Am I saying that correctly? Lehring?
Lehring is the right pronunciation.
Lehring, okay. And for those people who don't know who this gentleman is, he is the worldwide AI on Power leader for IBM, which is quite impressive. But then that's a very big title. What does somebody in that role actually do for the Power community?
Yeah, I'm deeply involved with the community. Actually, I interview the community. I've talked to more than 100 clients, even understanding what their pain points are, what their needs are, to come up with a strategy on how to make AI easy and valuable for Power. Right. So, and that is kind of the foundation for us to drive the whole AI with IBM Power strategy. Make it trustworthy, make it super secure, make it easy to consume, and optimally, you don't need a lot of AI skills to use AI because it's often perceived so complex, scary. We are going to get rid of that to make it better, right? And that's my main connection, I guess, with the IBMi community. We understand your needs. We know where your pain points are in onboarding to AI, getting from experimentation to production. Getting that right, that's my main task, and that's it. What's in for you, really.
How do you educate people to the benefits of AI? Because there's some people who are very, I hate to use the word afraid, but unsure perhaps. They're not really sure, or they don't quite fully understand the benefits or the full capabilities of how AI can help them in their enterprise. How do you speak to that?
I mean, there are different viewpoints on education and what AI is, right? So there is the business value behind AI. And since AI got such a huge momentum, we are seeing more and more enterprises that are already experimenting with AI and kind of got their foot into the door with AI. So it's becoming easier. People with ChatGPT, for instance, people have started understanding the art of the possible. These days, my mother even knows what I'm doing professionally. And so that became easier. Companies have started putting AI on the agenda because they already understood the value. But what I'm doing in terms of education is context matters essentially here, right? So it needs to matter in their individual context, right? So if it was creating dynamic recipes for cooking for my mother, it would be something different for IBMi customers. And IBMi customers deeply care about the applications and the data that resides on Power. Therefore, we need to connect to that context. So I need to show examples that bring AI to life in that context for RPG modernization, for bringing more automation capabilities into their ERP systems, getting rid of tedious manual tasks that can be done with AI, and we can showcase that these days.
And there are genuine use cases and genuine deployments that are already in production today using AI.
Yes. So there, for instance, we have a large logistics provider in Europe. They have an ERP system running on IBMi, and now what they do is they identify the manual steps where they still have some manual tasks to enter information into forms that can now be automated using generative AI technology to pre-populate the form. The human still in the loop can cross-check it, and thereby still become more productive. And with our customer in logistics, customer is called Hans Geis. So Hans Geis measured an 80% improvement in productivity for their employees. And at the same time, they speeded up their throughput for business processes. That's the order process they were looking at by 25x. And that's the value that leads to business growth for them and ensures that they remain competitive in the market, because what we're seeing here is that more and more business processes are ingesting AI capabilities to drive growth. And if you don't do that, you probably lose track of your competition, really.
What's been your experience? We just had Jesse Gorzinski sitting here, and one of the questions that comes up quite often is, how do you get started? And Jesse suggested taking a process that nobody likes to do for perhaps, or that's very tedious and repetitive. Is that same metric, or is the same test, I should say, the same for any size customer, or is it different for large enterprises, or is this the same test no matter what size your company is?
Yeah, I know Jesse's take on it. I think it makes in a tactical sense to start with something that where you find a team that wants to drive a North Star project on AI, and then Jesse's tactics is perfectly fine and works. On a broader scope, let's say company-wide AI strategy, I would recommend also two things. Number one is assess the business value, right? So it's different to what Jesse said, right? Find the right folks first and find their pain point. I say find the use cases company-wide that maximize the growth potential from AI. So, for instance, if you quote unquote just optimize the task of a three-man IT department, probably that will not lead to a growth compared to an AI process that talks about hundreds of employees working on a specific topic. So that's number one. Prioritize based on the expected business value coming from AI. And number two is assess the feasibility of your use case. So don't start with a moonshot project, which is fairly complex to realize. Rather start in kindergarten with something that is low hanging. And then we're kind of close to also Jesse's statements, right? So find something that is not so technically complex, but also from an organizational perspective, not so complex. Talking about company politics, for instance, it might be harder to align with different brands inside your company, opposed to starting with a single brand. That makes it easier, more feasible to onboard something. And the sweet spot is really where you maximize the value coming out of AI in terms of a business statement and the feasibility on how easy it is to get there.
Yeah, if your first project is indeed a moonshot project, that's it's risky, I think. I mean,
Yes.
that's my opinion, because you're increasing the risks of not having it being deployed at all, perhaps, or not as well as you would like to have it deployed. Am I
Yes.
saying that correctly?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Right. Nothing more to add to that. Perfect
Yeah.
said. Charlie.
Okay. Well, Sebastian, I want to thank you so much for joining us here today at iChime. It's really so nice to see you again, and it's a thrill to have you on as a guest. You're also on our list for a future guest for a full show. I hope you'll be able to make some time down the road. And thank you so much. And again, it's just a thrill to have you here. So thank you for joining us.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so
Great.
much, Charlie, for having me.
Excellent. Thank you, Sebastian.
Thanks.
Dr. Sebastian. Okay. Thank you very much. Our next guest here today, another Sebastian, 2 in a row. What are the odds of that?
What do you know? One German, one French.
One
Hello.
French. They're both from Europe, nonetheless. Sebastian Julliand from Arcade Software, and one of the top contributors to VS Code for IBMi.
Right.
And
hello, iChime.
Hello, iChime. And in fact, a year ago or so, you were a full-time guest, and you showed you did a live demo for us on VS Code, and you showed people how to take full advantage of it.
Exactly. That's the kind of session I'm giving now about the hidden gems in Code for I and VS Code, actually.
So tell us about some of the hidden gems, because in the world of this particular product, a year is a very long time, and a lot happens to it.
Yeah, well, we keep on adding new stuff in there, so you got to keep up, even though it's not really well documented. What do I like? In the DB2 extension, there are a lot of nice stuff. I like to talk about, like the notebooks. I don't know if you know about the notebooks, Charlie. So it's really nice. It gives a visual representation of a query as a graph. Could be a bar graph, could be a circle, could be anything, and that's visually appealing. It's one of the wow factor in DB2 for I. Another thing I like is the capability to export the results as JSON or CSV, so you just put the prefix in front of your statement, and then boom, you got your results as JSON. And now, since quite a few months now, you can update the results from DB2, which means you can run select statement, and then you can update directly values in the result that is shown in VS Code. And I'll kind of like it.
And you do that by typing an SQL colon in front of the select statement, right?
Yeah, right. In the result set that is displayed in Code4i.
What do you think? I mean, what do you think has been the driving force behind the rising adoption of VS Code? I mean, people seem to really been gravitating towards it lately more so. What do you attribute that to, you think?
Well, I think so. VS Code is very popular amongst programmers, and so as soon as a new extension was out for IBMi, which was something new, it got a lot of attention, you know. So that made a lot of noise, and the more noise you make, the more people you will attract, you know. And I would say, okay, VS Code is cool, so it will attract maybe cool people. It will attract a lot of people. They'll be curious. It's open source. It's free. So you can just, in 2 clicks, you install the extension, you can try it out. You like it or not, you can give it a try. So I guess that brought a lot of people on this. And the fact that it is open source is also really nice, because everybody that uses the extension, everybody can interact with each other, you know, through GitHub, through the repository. And with the development team, with the core team of maintainers, that's always rewarding that we are able to respond to any query quite quickly. You know, we are able to publish a fix or a new release just like that. So I guess that's why it's attracting a lot of people and attention, and it's still going strong.
It truly is. Any other tips you might want to share? One more tip, perhaps, or maybe how you think you best navigate within the product. Is there something that you always do all the time that's your go-to process or a function or activity, things like that?
Now, to navigate in the product, I always get the same kind of filters in the browser, because you define filters to navigate through the code. But one thing I like, and I share that in one of my sessions, is that you can synchronize your settings across all your installations of VS Code. That's called the settings synchronization. It's not brought by Code4i, it's just built in VS Code. And if you have a GitHub account, you can just sign in VS Code and say, okay, record all my settings. Let's say you install a new laptop, you install VS Code, you connect, and it will restore all your settings plus your extensions, etc. And so you don't have to worry about, well, restoring your installation or your settings. And I love that. I installed a new laptop last week. It took me 2 minutes to be ready to go.
2 minutes.
1 minute, depending on your internet connection.
Wow. And you were, so unless the point is, in less than 5 minutes, you're up and running is the bottom line.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, Sebastian, I want to thank you very much for your time here today. And thank you for sharing your tips, the hidden gems, as you say.
Sure.
And thank you again for being a guest in the past. And it's always a delight to see you everywhere. Thank you so much. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you for having me. Bye, everybody.
Sebastian Julian, thank you. None other than Mr. Liam Allen. How great to see you. Look, I got a handshake.
Hello.
How great to see you, Liam.
I bought you a gift.
You brought me a gift.
I bought you a gift.
You bought me a gift. I see a laptop in there. Thank you. Oh, oh, he bought me food.
I bought you beignets.
Beignets. Oh, look at this. He brought beignets. Oh, they smell heavenly.
They're for you.
Thank you so much. Wow.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to spare everybody now because there's a lot of powder. I want to have powder on my face.
It's beignets, I swear.
Yeah, beignets. Thank you so much. Thank you. But Liam, so here you are at Common PowerUp once again. great to see you here. Great to always good to see you, no matter where we are in the world. And of course, your big topic that you've been talking about is code, but I know you talk about more than just that. I mean, there's the AI component, and I actually want to go back to something that I spoke to Patrick Bear about earlier in our meeting, and that's last night we did a panel for the Ocean User Group, and you were one of the panelists. And the topic of that conversation was why it's an exciting time to be on IBMi. And you brought up a couple of good points. You want to share some of those first?
Yeah, I mean, the big one for me is that there's still lots of room for innovation in our space. And I think that, open source is part of that, but there's still space that people can innovate whether they're doing open source or not, right? Of course, I love open source, live and die by it, but, there's specifically in sysadmin, there's lots of space for innovation. In IDE and developer tools, there's still lots of space for innovation, but that's what, to me, makes IBMi an exciting place to be in 2025, is that you can be innovative on your own, you can be innovative in a group, and that's great. That's really exciting to me.
And that's an interesting word to use, because innovation, it's difficult sometimes for large companies to continuously innovate new things. But I think in our case, it's easier perhaps because we are well, first of all, it's an open source product, and we have more autonomy. Perhaps we can do things quicker without having to go through traditional hoops, and that gives you a lot of latitude to use, and again, the word innovate. It gives you a lot of latitude to do that very thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, that open source does have some freedom to it. There's also the concept of BDFL, which is benevolent dictator for life, right? And sadly, sometimes when it comes to open source, I have to be one of those, make the file cool. And of course, that still has to happen, but there's no reason that should stop you or stop anybody from being creative. As I mentioned, that there's still lots of areas in my eyes that allows people to be innovative, and IBMi can grow more in that space, I think, over the next 5 years. I think that was what we spoke about yesterday, is where we see IBMi in 5 years. And, I think that I think we're opening up IBMi to give the space for more people to be innovative, right? That's the difference, is more people being innovative than less people. That's very important.
And I know every time, not every time, but many times I ask you, like, what's exciting, you tend to point me to the DB2 extension. I know that's one extension you have a lot of excitement about. What is it about that one extension that drives you or motivates you, or why it makes you smile?
The database extension really is an interesting one because, every platform has a database, right? And that is really a space for us to compete and be, compared against other databases. And so for me, building a great database tool allows us to compete more in other spaces. So, for example, there's a great Postgres extension for VS Code. There's a great MS SQL and SQL Server extension. And we can kind of look at those and say, well, those databases can do that. We should be doing that and more. And we can base a lot of our innovation based on, what they do and how we can be as good as them or better. And I like that a lot about it.
It's completely true, and it's very evident by again. I just said it before, and I'll say it again. You mentioned DB2, and you just light up like a.
Yeah, I do, and I'm not even a database developer, but I do really love working on that extension. It really is great.
But it also just goes to speak about how pliable this tool actually is. I mean, now we have the code assistant, and that's another plugin of sorts, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what's really nice is it's not a puzzle because the pieces aren't dependent on each other. So it's not really a puzzle. It's more like a train, right? You can have a train with one cart and it works great, but that train can also pull along other carts, and they really just stack up at the end of the day and work really well together. That bloody analogy is good. I'm going to have to borrow that one. I just said it, but I'm going to have to borrow it. But
you can use it wherever you think it's appropriate. I'm perfectly fine with that.
I hope that made sense, but
it makes perfect sense. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not a puzzle. It's more like a train.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's well thought out. Sometimes some of the best things just come up in a flash like that.
That was on a flash. That's what I was looking at. The smell of those beignets. That's what it does to me.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, Liam, I just want to thank you again, as always. It's always so great to see you and to be able to present with you as we did the panel last night, and other things that I know are just great things that are coming down the line. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
All the best, yeah.
Yep. And last but not least, in fact, Mike Pavlak has been instrumental in helping run this meeting, and I'm forever grateful because he's the one who was able to corral everybody, and he's corralled everybody and kept everybody in line, and it was just great. So, Mike, first of all, thank you just even for doing that, because that's no easy task, getting everybody here in front of the booth and everything. So I really appreciate it.
But you know, Charlie, it's getting easier. And the reason why it's getting easier is because people know that you're doing this now. The first time we did this, I used to have to run around and like literally conk people over the head and drag them into the booth so that they would, you know, do their spiel and stuff like that. Now, I mean, it was like I only had to go like hunt down one or two people because they know they come back. There's oh, we got time yet? Oh, we got some food. And yeah, by the way, Charlie hasn't eaten yet, so we need to get Charlie some food.
Oh, that's why Liam brought beignets probably.
Beignets, and the funny thing is that when the food came out, Charlie was going to grab food really quick. There was already a huge line for the food, but there was no line at the dessert table, so we started with dessert. And now Liam brought him beignets. That was fantastic.
More dessert.
More dessert.
Okay, it's a breakfast of champions, right?
Absolutely. So, and you know, as far as, you know, having something to share, I got all kinds of things and stuff to share. And
sure, please do.
What I'd like to say first is I want to say thank you to Charlie for doing this, because this is a great way to get information out there. I didn't hear a lot of the tips because I was busy running around, but I've heard a couple, you know, bits and pieces of, you know, Liam and Ann and Jesse and stuff like that. And this is a great opportunity to, you know, the density of information in this short little podcast. I think this is going to be fantastic. So I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, and the breadth of speakers was amazing. We had the topics really covered so many different aspects of on IBMi development and admin and security. So it was great.
Yep. And a special thank you to Ann Wilkerson for kicking things off, because, you know, there was nobody here when we started, and Ann wasn't even on the short list, but she's just absolutely fantastic. I ran over and grabbed her real quick, and she came over and graciously, you know, agreed. And then by the time she was done, we had 3 people in line. It was fantastic. It's a great opportunity to share these things and stuff like that. I will just I'll kind of reiterate something that I've talked about before, and I'll probably keep talking about as we go along here. You know, Charlie knows that I've been in grad school. And I think education is a very important thing. And, you know, this is it. This is why we're here. We're all about, you know, sharing these ideas, sharing this stuff. But it still blows me away. The opening session at Common, you know, they said, how many people are first timers? I swear half the audience stood up.
Yeah, we spoke about that before. It's amazing.
It's incredible. And so, you know, for those of you out there who are paying attention to this, you know, right now, you're part of the crew, you're part of the family. You know, but what I would suggest is if there's somebody out there that you talk to on a regular basis, you know, make the suggestion, send a link to Charlie's iChime to people, and, you know, or a link to something about Common, or a link to something about the IBM site, you know, about the education, because it just blows me away how many people are just not aware. And the only way we're going to get to those people, because IBM doesn't even know where these people are in some cases, it's going to be word of mouth. It's going to be viral. So, you know, get on YouTube. There's some great YouTubers out there in the IBMi space now. In addition to Charlie, you've got Andy Ewens and some other folks out there doing some amazing content. You know, open source kind of stuff out there is absolutely huge in the IBMi space. I don't see Liam doing quite as much from a podcast perspective as he used to, but maybe we can get him to do a little bit more, because he's too busy. He's busy running around doing all kinds of amazing things and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I mean, that's my thing. You know, share. Get the message out there for folks if you can. I think that's a great way to go. I'll tell a quick story. They've tried a couple of different things here at Common from a scheduling standpoint, and it's really kind of wreaked havoc with some of the sessions. And in one of my sessions, I had one person show up where I usually have, you know, a handful or more. But this young lady was a student over at one of the universities around here, and doesn't know anything about IBMi. But she came to my Python presentation and we went through it together, and I kind of focused on things that she hadn't seen before and focused on a few other things with regards to Python tips and that sort of thing. And she was really appreciative of the fact that, she was able to come away from this event, not knowing anything about IBMi, but she came away with some knowledge. And that's the beautiful thing about these things, is that when you walk into an event like Common, you may come in with a focus or looking for something in particular, but you get exposed to so much information that you can pick up a few things that you weren't expecting, and I think that's the value add. What do you think, Charlie?
You so succinctly said that. But I do want to add one thing though, and to your original point about Ann Wilkinson just stepping up, because that is not atypical. That is so typical of anybody that we know collectively in this space.
Absolutely.
Right. I'm Ann was the person today, but I suspect it would have been anybody you might have been able to run into first would have gladly stepped up and taken that role.
Absolutely. We love this group. We love this crowd, and that maybe it's time for us to get back to it.
Yeah. and I'm just going to say it again, just from me to you. Thank you for what you've done helping make this meeting a success. I mean, it's been fun, and I know many people tell me that this particular type of meeting, we've done several meetings at different common events, and then some of them tell me it's actually their favorite because of the composition of the speakers and the yeah, it's all good.
Absolutely, and I have fun doing it, because otherwise I'd be standing in the booth and I'd be like tapping my foot. This gives me a chance to get some exercise, run around. So this is fantastic.
All right. Hey, Mike, thank you. Thank you to Mike Pavlak as our, we're going to give him a nice koozie.
All right. I get swag. Nice.
We have swag. Thank you very much for that. And, thank you to all the guests that we had here today, sharing their tips and their insights into the community, into the platform, into what's new, what's coming out, things like that. So thank you to everybody. And thank you to everybody who's on this very meeting in person. I hope you enjoyed the meeting. And
thank you again to Charlie for doing the nerd herding as well. This is a great opportunity for folks anywhere in the world to pick up information. And so the iChime is just absolutely fantastic in that respect. So thank you, Charlie.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Absolutely. It's a great way to stay connected. So everybody, we will see you. We are now officially taking a break until September. See you in September. We're going to enjoy some time off. I hope you get some time off as well in these summer months. And we'll see you again. Thank you so much. We are over and out. Everybody, see you soon. And thank you again for hanging in there with us. Bye now.